today we're going to learn a few more CAD modeling skills using features such as a tapered extrusion, loft, and then also patterning as well. So to do that, we're going to make the blue part of this precision screwdriver set here in the bottom right hand corner. So we're just going to make this base. What you can't see on here is that the bottom of this is actually hollowed out, so we're also going to use the shell command to do that as well. We do not have a dimension drawing for this, so we're just going to kind of eyeball it, make it look similar to the actual picture. So we're not going to be holding to specific dimension drawings on this one. We're just kind of making it up as we go. So first off, we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. So looking at the bottom, we have this tapered portion here. We have this second portion that kind of comes up vertically. Then we have a circular portion here, and then that gets extruded up, and it has 5 holes along the outside and then a larger hole in the center that would hold the actual part of the precision screwdriver that you can insert each of the different tips into. So we're going to start from the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and go to a new Fusion file and create a new sketch. I'm going to create it on this bottom plane. And I'm going to start this about the center point so that the center point or the origin of my drawing is actually going up through the center of the part. Now, if we go back and look at that drawing, you'll notice that the base is has 5 sides. So it's not a standard circle, so we're actually going to have to go in and create that shape. So if we go under Create and we go to Polygon, and we're going to do a circumscribed polygon. So I'm going to click on the center point, drag out, and you'll notice that it has, to the right here, it has number of edges. So right now it's a 6. We're going to change that to 5. And we're just going to make the diameter of this 2 inches. And that's the diameter of the circle that is circumscribed within that shape. And then I'm going to go ahead and notice that I can rotate this thing around here. So we're going to use a sketch constraint to keep this perfectly flat on the bottom. So I'm going to kind of put it off on purpose here. Go ahead and place that. So I want this bottom edge here to be horizontal. So if I go up to my sketch constraints, grab the horizontal vertical, click on that line, that's going to make that perfectly horizontal. It's been snapped to that center point, so it's constrained to that center point there. So it'll rotate about that, and now we have our shape the way we want it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch. So to start off, I know it's kind of hard to see here, but there's actually a little lip at the bottom. So I'm going to make an 1/8 inch tall extrusion with this sketch. So I'm going to hit E for extrude and put in 0.125 and hit enter. So that's that bottom lip. And I'm going to go ahead and make another extrusion from this one. Now I don't have to go in and create a whole new sketch on top of this. If I hit extrude, it's going to let me select that profile to go ahead and extrude from again, so I don't have to go in and create a secondary sketch. So when I do that, I want that to be 0.25, but I want to go over to my extrude panel and I want to put in a taper angle. So I'm going to go ahead and put in, I want it to be a 45-degree angle. If I put 45 positive, notice that it tapers outward. Obviously I don't want it to do that, I want it to go the other way, so I'm going to change that to a -45. And that gives me my taper of that base, which matches what we can see here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK with that. And then going back to my sketch, I need to extrude this block straight up here. So once again, not going to create a sketch. I'm just going to hit the extrude command. Let me put this back in a nice ISO view here. Click on that face. And I'm going to kind of eyeball this here, but if I take a look at that and look back here, yeah, we're going to go with, just to make it a nice even number, we're going to go with 2 inches as our height and hit enter. Now, if you'll notice, I have this portion here that is rounded off. So to kind of show you how to do that via the Loft command, we're going to create a work plane, and we'll talk more about that in a second, that is offset from this face, and then we're going to draw a circle on that plane. So to do that, I'm going to go under Construct, and I'm going to select Offset Plane. I'm going to go ahead and click this face, and then I can click and drag this up. And what this does, if I go to a side view here, is it creates a plane offset from that initial plane that I can then go in and sketch on. So just looking back here, I don't know, I'm going to estimate this. Right now it's 0.3. I'm just going to go ahead and make it 0.5. 0.5 inches and hit enter. And now if I go back to an ISO view, I have this plane that is now sitting 0.5 inches above my original block that I created there. So I'm going to go ahead and create a sketch on this plane, on that plane I just created. And I'm going to make a circle with the center point on the center of that. And notice that is off center. Now it's not actually a circumscribed circle inside the five-sided shape. So I'm going to hit escape. And I'm going to grab my line tool. So I'm going to hit L for line. And then on my sketch palette over here, there's this option that says construction. Now if I hit that construction line, I'm going to create a line from each point across so I can find the center point of this. Now, I can't do that currently. I can't snap to it because the geometry from that shape below is not on the sketch plane. So before I can do this, I'm going to hit P for project on the keyboard. And I'm going to click inside this geometry. And on my panel over here, it says my geometry is selected. And I'm just going to hit OK. Now I have all of that geometry projected up. So now if I hit L, and that's construction, by the way, because I have construction selected. Now it's going to allow me to snap along those lines or at those endpoints. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to create a line from there to the midpoint over here. And then from each of these corners across as well. The midpoint perpendicular. And same thing here. So now I've found the center point of this. So I'm going to turn off construction. Go and grab the circle command. I'm going to snap to the center point of those lines that I just created. And I'm going to go ahead and make a circle that's roughly or just a little bit smaller in size, so it's not completely circumscribed inside of there. So I'm going to make that, let's go 3.25, let's say. That'll work. And hit enter. And finish my sketch. So now I have this sketch that sits above this original geometry I created. So what I'm going to do now is go into Create, and I'm going to select the Loft command. And it's asking for two profiles. So I'm going to select this profile here, which is my original one. And then I'm also going to go up and select, because they're construction, the rest of these lines are construction lines, it doesn't interrupt selecting this circle. If you forgot to make these construction lines, it's only going to let you select like each individual piece of the circle. So make sure those are construction lines. I'm going to select that. And what you'll notice is when I select those two, it's going to loft a solid in between that initial shape, or the first profile, and the second profile. So now if I hit OK, that allows us to fill in that gap in between and kind of bridge the gap between that five-sided shape and the circle. Okay. So if I go back and look at my drawing, or I'm sorry, my picture, I now need to extrude this circular object straight up. And we're going to, once again, we're going to kind of eyeball this, but I'm going to hit E for extrude. Click on that circle. Drag this up here. So let's sit it at 1 inch, and then let's go back to our drawing. That looks about right. So we're going to go with that. That'll work, and hit OK. And now, if I go back and look at my drawing, I need to create the 5 exterior holes and then that center hole in the top of this. So I'm going to create a new sketch on that top face. And I'm going to go ahead and create my center hole here. And once again, I'm kind of eyeballing diameters. So, I don't know, we'll go with 0.5 will be fine. And hit enter. Looks about the right proportion for that. Yeah, maybe a little bit bigger. We'll go back to that. Let's edit that dimension. Make it 0.6. We'll go with that. That looks good. So now I need to make a circle right here in line with the center point of this one and in line with the point of the outside of that part. So I could grab a circle command, but I don't, and I can kind of snap on this grid, but I don't really know for sure that it's perfectly in line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit escape and get out of that. I'm going to turn on construction. I'm going to hit P for project again, and I want to project this line here and this line here, and then this line here on the bottom, and hit OK. Now I've projected those lines so I have this point, and then I can find the midpoint down here. So I'm going to grab the line command again, snap to that point, and then come down here and snap to the midpoint of this line. And that gives me a line going straight down the center. So now I can grab my circle, turn off construction, and it allows me to snap right on that line. And I'm going to kind of eyeball it here, and eyeball the diameter, we'll say 0.375. Sounds good, and hit enter. Now if I go back and look at my drawing, or I'm sorry, once again my photo, I have that center hole, and then I need to make these 5 along the outside, and I've kind of created that first one here, like this one in the back that's empty. So now I need to pattern this all the way around. So I'm going to select that circle. I'm going to go under Create, Circular Pattern. And I've already selected the object, so I have one object selected, and I need to hit Select Center Point. I'm going to select the center point of that initial circle I made. And now I need to tell it how many iterations of that I want. It defaults to 3. I'm going to change that to 5. And then hit OK. Before I do that, you can change how much of the pattern you want. So right now we want a full 360-degree pattern. If we wanted to do that just as a certain amount, we could change it to angle, and we could change how much it rotates all the way around. Right now it's set to 180 degrees. We could set that as far as we want, but we do want it as a full pattern all the way 360 degrees, and hit OK. And now I'm going to go in and finish the sketch. I'm going to go ahead and hide my initial sketch here in a minute after I use it for extrusion. So I'm going to hit E for extrude, drag this down. I'm going to select that center hole, and I want to extrude this. Let me look from a side view here. Once again, kind of eyeballing this. We'll say 1.2 inches will work, and I'll hit OK. So now once I use that sketch for that initial extrusion, it disappears. So if I go over to my sketch panel, I'm going to go down to sketch number 3, and I'm going to unhide that so it shows my circles I made back again. I'm going to select extrude. I'm going to select all 5 of these holes. I'm going to drag it down because I want to cut in. Go to my side view again. And I don't know, we'll go something like 0.9 inches will work. And hit OK. So now I have my basic shape of my base along with the holes in the top. Now I still have the sketch here, so I'm going to go back to sketches and click the hide button there to get rid of that. And the last thing I need to do is, if I look at the bottom here, it is completely solid, and on the actual part it is not. So what I'm going to do is rotate this back to the bottom. I'm going to go under Create, and I am going to, I take that back, I'm sorry, I'm going to go under Modify and go to Shell. And I'm going to select the face that I want to cut away, which is this bottom face. And then I'm going to put in a value that I want my wall thickness to maintain. So I'm just going to put in 0.1 here. And you'll see what happens when I do that is it completely hollows out the inside of this part while maintaining all of the walls, this outside wall, the wall around the holes and everything at 0.1 inches, which is exactly what I want to do. So I'm going to hit OK. And now that I've done that, I have completed this part. And once again, it's not an exact copy, but it's just an eyeballed replica of it. And the idea here that you've learned how to do tapered extrusions, you've learned how to do lofts, you've learned how to do circular patterns, which rectangular patterns are very similar, and then you've also used the shell command and learned how to kind of use that to shell out the inside of a part, which can be really useful if you're trying to minimize the amount of material used for any type of manufacturing process, in our case 3D printing especially. So once you've done this, we're going to go back to kind of a home view, isometric view, and you need to go and export an image of this. Before we do that, we do want to save the part, so I'm going to go over to my data panel. I'm going to go in my PLTW, IED. I'm going to create a new folder called 1.3.4. Hit enter. Go into that folder, and then we're going to hit the save button. We're going to call this Precision Screwdriver Base. I forgot the R on my driver there. And hit save. That saves our part. And then we want to go and export an image of this part. So we can go to make sure that your part's oriented in your graphics window so it takes up a good portion of it, because it'll take an image of the entire graphics window. Go to File, Capture Image, All this default is fine, so we'll hit OK. We want to change this to a JPEG. We're going to save it in the cloud in this 1.3.4 folder, which is, if you've already saved it there, it should default there. If you can hit the drop down to save it. And then we also want it to save to computer. I'm going to change this to my downloads and hit save. And now when we hit save on this menu, it's going to save a copy both here to my 1.3.4 folder, and it's going to save a copy to my downloads. You can see the progress, upload progress there at the bottom. Once it's finished, it's going to tell you to refresh the folder. I can hit refresh, and then that image shows up within there. Then I can go back to my downloads, and I can upload the version in my downloads to Canvas as the submission for this assignment.